Welcome to CEO Interviews, a production of GrowCom in which we take the time to speak with small cap executives about important developments at their companies. With us today, I'm really happy to have for the first time, Ryan Brown. He's CEO of GrowPros Cannabis Ventures, Inc. They trade on the CSE in Canada under the stock symbol GCI, but that's going to change pretty soon. The company's going to be changing its name to Tetra Biopharma after their AGM next week. Now, for those of you who are new to the story, and that's probably most of you, you can get an idea of what the company does just from their name, but that's where they separate themselves from everybody else. The company has two divisions. It's got its pharmaceutical division, which are developing botanical-based pharmaceuticals to help alleviate symptoms of pain, insomnia, and anxiety in patients diagnosed with cancer, chronic illnesses, and terminal diseases. They've also got an MMPR division in which they've got an agreement with a licensed distributor. They're going to collaborate with them on an application for a facility in southern Quebec, but there's no doubt about the fact that the pharmaceutical side is going to be the main focus here. And here to tell us all about it is Ryan. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot for having me.
Before we get into the actual business side of what you're accomplishing here, you're clearly GrowPros is above and beyond most companies that we see, especially small cap companies on Canadian exchanges. Tell me about the team that's able to bring this all together, because you guys have a long history of success.
Well, the company started with myself and our chairman, Andre Odette, who has a background in small cap companies in Canada, raised over $100 million in his career. And my background comes from the hydroponic wholesale and equipment distribution industry. So through that, I've been working hand in hand with legal cannabis growers all across North America for upwards of 8 years. We originally put in an application to the federal government under the MMPR, now known as the ACMPR. During the long application time, we looked at different diversification options for the company when we were introduced to Dr. Guy Chamberlain, PhD, who's a world-renowned doctor of plant medicine. He's developed plant-based pharmaceuticals and consumer drug products, many different companies over the year. His partner, Andre Rancourt, who will be the interim CEO after the AGM, has got a history in natural health product distribution as well as acquisitions. So we look at this team as being very well diversified and each experts in our own field put together. It gives us the base for a very strong cannabis-based pharmaceutical company.
So when you guys all sat around a table at some point, you said, let's make a push into the pharmaceutical side. What were the couple of main reasons for the push into the pharmaceutical side and getting away from the traditional ACM MPR, as you're calling it, as it's called now? What was the reason for the push into pharma?
We had always envisioned GrowPros as being a company that was going to produce quality cannabis and cannabis products at a low cost. Our production facility plan and our structure was all based around low cost, high quality production. The reality was, without a license, our hands were tied as far as what we could do in the industry. Meanwhile, we're sitting here in Canada with a large infrastructure of federally licensed producers that are already producing over 1 million square feet of production space, and the industry was moving forward, and we decided to focus a little bit less on the application for production and focus more on creating the products that we had envisioned putting to the market. This is where we spoke with Guy, and he educated us on what would be involved in creating a recognized, numbered pharmaceutical product based on cannabis that would be accepted by physicians, patients, and hopefully insurance companies. Which is where we saw that that was going to be the focus, and we really think that that's where the industry is going. Recreational legalization is one thing, but cannabis use for medical purposes is proven. It's used all over the world. Now we need to apply the pure science of pharmaceuticals to the natural healing properties of cannabis to create consumer drug products that will be considered pharmaceuticals but maintain the characteristics of natural health products that most medical cannabis users are looking for.
And I can tell you actually from anecdotally for everyone at home that a lot of the concern in the past has come from doctors is they understand exactly what you're talking about, but they want to see items that are pharmaceutical at the end of the day. They're in the traditional form so that they can actually prescribe something specific. So explain if you can, how botanical-based pharmaceutical is going to be better for patients that are suffering from, pain and insomnia and anxiety because they have been diagnosed with cancer and chronic pain and even terminal diseases. How do you think that may be superior to the traditional pharmaceutical side of things?
I think that a lot of it comes down to choice, and many medical cannabis users, cannabis wasn't the first medication that they tried. It's been a journey for them, been a very long and painful journey as they've tried different pharmaceuticals, different pills, different injections, different drugs that just didn't work for them. Now they found something that works, but unfortunately, buying a couple grams of weed at from your local licensed producer, rolling it into a joint and smoking it is not commonly accepted medical practice by the medical community. And without the scientific backing to prove why this is a totally effective and applicable form of medication, physicians are going to be hesitant to prescribe it, and insurance companies are going to be hesitant to insure it. Therefore, that reduces access and really inhibits the patients that need these drugs from obtaining them. So we think that it's, whether or not it's going to work better than traditional pharmaceuticals, that's already been proven by the market, that those who choose to use cannabis for medically, they choose it over pharmaceuticals that are often available at no cost. They choose to pay with their own money to acquire the medication that they want. Now what we need to do is we need to take that medication that they desire and provide the scientific backing and everything that the medical community requires to really create an over-the-counter consumer drug product.
And I can tell you again, anecdotally, I think you guys are right on course because, I come from a traditional Greek family with elders, traditional Greek people who who are very straightforward, and one of them suffered from cancer, and they were trying to find ways to get cannabis in order to help alleviate the pain, and they chose that over traditional pharmaceuticals. So I remember that showed me just a year ago when that was going on. I said, okay, there's a real need for this. Now, let me ask you this. You're not just conceptualizing here. You've already got a product pipeline. Specifically, you've got one product in late phase 3 clinical testing. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that? And so everyone at home knows that this is not just a concept. You guys are already starting to move.
Well, what we've done is we've actually taken the protocol and procedure that Guy has used to develop other drugs in the past, and we've applied that towards the creation of our PP001, which is our inhalation-focused cannabis-based, consumer drug product, as well as PP002, which is our topical cream. So both of these are going to contain the same proprietary ingredients, but are going to be part of 2 separate clinical trials. Basically, what we want to prove is that our mixture of cannabis and other medicinal plants can achieve the same effectiveness with a lower lower percentage of psychoactive ingredient than traditional cannabis on its own, where you've got a 23% THC product. We can provide something equivalent efficiency, anywhere between 9 to 10% THC. So when you get the psychoactive ingredient down, the regulatory bodies, physicians, insurance companies, they look very favorably amongst that. But the product has to work, and we have to prove that this product is going to be equally as effective as the dried cannabis products that people are consuming now, which is the basis of our clinical trial. So we've submitted a clinical protocol to Health Canada as well as to the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. We've gotten guidance from them on the protocol that needs to be followed to make sure that these drugs are going to be approved by both regulatory bodies, and we would be able to distribute them in both Canada and in the United States.
In addition to that, September 6th, I'm going to read here about another submission. So this is the one part of the interview where we get a little more technical, but I'm going to read here. You made a submission to the U.S. FDA Office of Orphan Products Development. And what you're looking there are 2 applications for orphan drug designation for tetrahydrocannabinol and cannabidiol, for the treatment of patients with complex regional pain syndrome. Now, in that press release, this is what I found interesting. He said, if successful, the designation of each of those as orphan drugs will open the door for many opportunities. What do you guys see there?
Well, what we see there, number one, is the way the pharmaceutical industry works is these orphan drug designations basically would allow us to use, which amounts to be THC and CBD, to treat patients suffering from chronic pain. by being once granted this orphan drug status, that gives us access to federal funding. It gives us a 7-year protected time frame in which we would be the only drug company that could put products into the market containing THC and CBD to be used specifically to treat the identified ailments in the application. So it's a pharmaceutical way of sort of protecting your IP before you invest significant money into the clinical trials. And it's based on, I mean, normally that's a process that takes over a year. We were able to accomplish it in under 60 days with Guy's background and Guy's understanding of the regulatory framework and what's required to obtain these orphan drug designations.
Yeah, there's no doubt that's where the expertise, history, and success of Dr. Chamberlain really comes into play for you. So that, I mean, that's a huge time saving, 6 months down to 60 days. Let me ask you one last question, because I'd be remiss if I didn't. I'm sure people would think about it at home. How does the changing legislative landscape out there play into the future of the company, specifically the legalization of recreational use of medical marijuana? No doubt that it's going to increase the size of your available market, but how dependent are you on the current legislative landscape?
We have put a plan in place to operate regardless of what the determination, regardless of what the framework of recreational legalization, what it's going to look like in Canada. We took the laws as they are right now. We took the programs as they exist right now, and we have found a way to, or a path to continue to develop our products within the current existing regulatory structure. Now, if that regulatory structure is to expand, as we all, everyone is of the opinion that it is going to, and we are looking at a recreational legalization within the next 1 to 2 years. What shape that's going to take, what form that's going to take, nobody knows. So we don't want to bank on the uncertainty of what this legal framework is going to look like. At the end of the day, we're a pharmaceutical company. We're creating pharmaceutical products using cannabis and other medicinal plants. So the regulatory scheme that we're operating within is really not going to affect us. I mean, the legalization of cannabis is good for popular culture. It's good for society in general. It's going to break down some of the stigmas, like what you described earlier, as as cannabis use becomes more commonplace, becomes more regulated, and a little bit more out in public and a little bit less under the rug.
Public acceptance.
Yeah,
exactly.
it's good. It's good for all companies that are operating in the space. I mean, legalization and positive news is good for all of us, but we're really focused on the pharmaceutical. So unlike a lot of pharmaceutical companies right now that are producing pharmaceuticals with products that are federally legal, yet they're the only companies that are able to produce and distribute these products because they've gone through the proper channels and the proper protocol to protect and to develop their pharmaceuticals.
I'm going to finish off by saying this for everyone watching at home. We all remember the .com bubble, Web 1.0, where everybody tried to be a web company, and we saw how that ended up. It crashed and burned. But then we had the resurgence and this long, 15-year boom in Web 2.0 that's going to go on and on forever. I see the same thing happening in this space. Medical marijuana 1.0, which I call weed 1.0. Had a lot of Me Too kind of companies. Everyone was putting out a press release that they're somehow going to be evaluating opportunities in medical marijuana. And we saw that we had this great rush and then this great drop afterwards because it wasn't sustainable. This phase I call Weed 2.0, and companies like GrowPros that are led by people like Ryan and Andre and Dr. Chamberlain, these are going to be the companies that lead the way in this next long and much bigger phase. Just like Web 2.0 really was successful for everyone in the internet stage. I see that happening in Weed 2.0, which is what phrase I've coined, not Ryan. I don't want words in his mouth, but Ryan, I think you guys do an amazing job. That's the point I want to make by pulling that out there, is that it's companies like yours that are going to really legitimize a space by doing great things. And I look forward to having you guys back on the show many more times. Especially after you make the name change and continue to progress and see how you guys are doing and how you're going to change the landscape for everybody.
No, thank you very much. And we agree. We look forward to engaging other industry partners as well. I mean, there are 35 licensed producers in the country right now. We've had conversations over the last 90 days with quite a few of them that are looking to participate in various different ways in the projects that we have going on and in the drug development process. So we look at ourselves as being a complement to what's already a booming and accelerating industry in Canada. We're just taking a little bit more of a pure science approach to it than some of the other companies that are operating maybe a little bit more towards the pending recreational legalization and a little bit less towards what would be considered true, pharmaceutical approach.
And you're not just adding pure science. Let's face it, as for shareholders of your company and potential shareholders of the company, you're actually adding significant value as well, because you're taking the existing products, putting significant development into them, and producing a much more valuable end user product in the day, which on the business side is very important to all of us who are watching the show, because we got to make sure that you guys are a viable business. And when you add that kind of value, you've got a lot of great potential going forward.
And it gives us a viable and replicable pipeline. So as we develop new drugs and new products to address new concerns that patients have brought up, new ailments that patients are suffering from, we can use this pre-existing pipeline and this pre-existing structure that we have to come up with new products and to continue to develop these new products for release into the market in conjunction with multiple different partners across North America.
Ryan, thanks so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I think we go on for another hour. Even right there, if we wanted to, we could talk about future applications and other kind of ailments, but you've got a lot on the company's plate right now with what you're doing, and I think that's a great space to be in. And let's not forget that you guys are going to be generating value for shareholders, but at the same time, you're going to be doing a great service to society, because unfortunately, we're all touched by patients. We're all touched by friends, family, loved ones who are suffering from cancer or chronic illnesses, or unfortunately even terminal illnesses. And those patients do have issues related to pain and anxiety and insomnia. And not only are you going to be, like I said, creating great shareholder value, but you're going to create great societal value. So it's kind of like a great double bonus coming out of GrowPros and your entire team.
Yeah, and we think that we were addressing the concerns of the patients and the physicians, and by following that that path, we think that that'll be extremely positive developments over the next few months with GrowPros.
You've been watching Ryan Brown. He's CEO of GrowPros Cannabis Ventures Inc. The company trades under the stock symbol GCI on the CSE in Canada. Now, keep in mind, the company is going to be undergoing a name change pretty soon. Their annual general meeting is next week. And soon after that, you'll see the name of the company change to Tetra Biopharma. But put this company on your watch list. Watch what this company is doing. This is going to be a potentially great one for everybody. And we're happy to have them on the show. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Have a fantastic day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks.